Now, all of this is taking place against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine. And of course, the promotion of the war in Ukraine is that Russia is going to move further. We should all be very frightened. And on the basis of that, we've got to gear up for war. And hence the look at the segment I've got for our viewers and listeners today, which is essentially pointing at the militarization of UK. First of all, let's have a listen to former Vice President Pence speaking and his opinion on what Russia will do.
I have no doubt in my mind, if Vladimir Putin overruns Ukraine, it'll only be a matter of time before he crosses a border of a NATO country where my country and all of our allies will have to confront him militarily.
And so do you say that the president gets that? Because that is exactly the fear in the Baltic nations, for instance. And do you say that the US security guarantee should be boots on the ground?
I've been very encouraged just this week, frankly, by the leadership among our allies in Europe to formulate the kind of security guarantees that would create the conditions for a just and lasting peace. I think the United States has made it clear, this administration has made it clear that there'll be a backstop to that. But with our European allies in the forefront. Not surprisingly, Vladimir Putin has already begun to rattle his saber to suggest that European troops on the ground in Ukraine would be, I think in his word, legitimate targets. But that to me tells me that the efforts of our allies coming together in Europe, a backstop by the United States American military, has captured Vladimir Putin's attention and may well be a pathway toward long-term peace.
So for me, Ben, a very mixed message. He's essentially saying, be afraid that Russians are going to come across that border and into the heart of Europe. At the same time, he says, well, the Europeans did so well in their recent meeting that probably Putin's not going to do that. But of course, this is pumped out with the aim of making people more and more fearful. And with it comes the branding of Russia. And of course, the kidnapping of children is one of the key topics. So this was a Sun headline here. Putin's 35,000 kidnapped Ukrainian kids sent to frontline to fight for Russia the moment they turn 18. Brit spies reveal. Now, this article has got absolutely no factual information to back up the claim of this headline. James Mools, who is the journalist who produced this piece of text, interestingly enough, is a former BBC democracy reporter, so I would guess he's pretty in the mould of what the BBC wants to tell the nation, but no substance or factual information at all. And what it does refer to is what the Ukrainian government has said, which is largely propaganda while the fighting goes on, but also Bring Kids Back UA. This charity is mentioned, but again, if we go to look at where the real detail is about how many children the Russians have actually captured and sent to the front, it's big on words and pictures, but there's little evidence. And this also applies to this one, Save Ukraine, another charity apparently working to save all these children. But the reader is provided with absolutely no evidence as to how many children there are in this predicament. And of course, a few months ago, the Russians went public to actually challenge the Ukrainians on the details of these thousands and thousands of children, and no details were provided to the Russians either. So how can we summarize this? Well, it's be afraid. The war is designed to attract our attention while other things go on underneath, as Ben has just shown. But let's have a look at this BBC headline here, which is UK launches 250 million defence strategy to boost jobs. And we'll bring in this little headline to remind people, because the UK column a couple of weeks ago pointed out that at the moment UK is boasting it's got more child cadets than soldiers in the British Army. Now, let's have a listen to what the Defence Secretary Healy had to say about the Ministry of Defence's new role with regard to asylum seekers.
We're absolutely determined. What you're seeing from Keir Starmer now is a recognition that this isn't just a job for the Home Office, it's all of government effort, and we in the MOD will play our part. We've got planners alongside the Home Office. We're looking at military and non-military sites for potential temporary accommodation. And this is about trying to restore control of our borders, which was lost over the last 5 or 6 years, and the confidence of the British people that we can keep them secure and we can reflect our values.
I just want to be very clear about what you're saying, though. You say military planners will be involved in helping to manage what many people see as a crisis in migration. Are you talking about members of the armed forces being involved in enforcing our borders?
So at the moment, we've got military planners involved in helping the Border Command. We've got them alongside Home Office planners looking at potential sites and solutions.
For accommodation.
Make no mistake, we're determined to end the use of expensive asylum hotels. We said that we'll do that by the end of the Parliament. Keir Starmer wants to do that before now. The numbers are coming down. We're processing the applications that were completely stalled under the previous government, and we're deporting more now than we have done in recent years.
So carefully delivered mixed messages. If we can't defend the borders against migrants, we're hardly likely to defend the borders against Putin. But of course, when he was pinned down on what is the Ministry of Defence doing, he didn't really give a clear answer. But at the end of the day, this is more fear factor in the public mind. This is supposedly the invasion of asylum seekers, when the real attack on UK is the permitted migration, with vast numbers of people coming into this country, with all the pressures on the infrastructure that brings. But let's just get back to that 250 million defence industrial strategy and have a look at some of the meat on those bones. This is the first statement that the strategy will offer working families across the country new opportunities. So this is about war, this is about the munitions, this is about everything that we need for war, but it's sold as offering families the opportunity to have a decent job. You can get more cynical if you tried. And the strategy is going to be used in collaboration between local authorities, businesses, academia, and the defence sector. Ben, I'm looking at you because to me this is the public-private partnership at work, and we're not going to be too sure what is actually the big business, the military-industrial complex, and what is government. But now this network is drilled down to very low levels in society. And of course, presumably anybody who challenges it is going to be branded a potential terrorist and accused of some crime against the defence of the nation. We give you a bit more here. So he went on to say that these deals offer a new partnership with UK defence to build on industrial and innovation strengths that regions already hold. So there's no doubt this is being driven right into the fabric of UK, down to local community, and I prefer to say county level. Now, some of the things that are coming out of it, Plymouth is going to get a £4 billion bonus to be the UK National Centre for Marine Autonomy, whatever that means. I did do some study, but it wasn't very clear. South Yorkshire is going to become a specialist in advanced materials and steel and submarine and weaponry components. I didn't know that we were producing huge amounts of steel, Ben, but apparently that's something that's going to change. We've got Wales becoming the centre for unmanned aerial vehicles and autonomy research. We've got Scotland, innovation, maritime and space technology. And finally here, Northern Ireland, the leader in cyber security and dual-use technologies. And if we reinforce how big this programme is, this is blueprint for one Devonport. And if you can't read the bottom left-hand corner small print, we can bring that on screen for you. Devonport 2050, more long-range plans, Ben, very much of the Soviet style, secure, safe support. And what are we looking at, apparently? A world-class, secure, safe integrated operating and support base for the Royal Navy and NATO. So this tends to indicate that NATO is going to be brought even closer into our national defence structure. And the mission here, meet the support and operating requirements for the Royal Navy and the UK's allies from the southwest reaching worldwide. Now, excuse me, if this is not enough, the other thing that's happening at the moment is we're seeing Ukrainian military industry burying its way into UK. What's the subject? It's drones. So here's the headline: 200 million Ukrainian drone manufacturer factory. And this is about Ukraine's largest drone manufacturer, Ukraine Spec Systems, which has announced a 200 million investment program in East Anglia, 11,000 square metre factory at Mildenhall, and a test and training site at Elmsett, Suffolk. A project, yes, the good news, it's going to create 500 jobs and apprenticeships across the region. What is it actually doing? Producing drones to kill people in the proxy war in Ukraine. But apparently this is good for UK society and industry. This is Maria Eagle, MP, Defence Procurement Minister. She says this 200 million investment will also improve our industrial base and create up to 500 jobs, driving economic growth and prosperity around the country. Core elements of our upcoming defence industrial strategy. And if that's not enough, we've got another one here, as reported in the Kiev Independent. This is about Raybird drones to be built in the UK in a new joint venture between Ukraine and UK. And this is a partnership between the Ukrainian Skyton and Prevail Solutions to produce military drones. And there are more of these. So we're seeing, alongside all of the things that you're pointing out, Ben, we're seeing an integration of defence in UK with the Ukrainians in much the same way as we're seeing integration between UK and Israel without any checks and balances on what's happening.